Hi. I want to cover a subject of how you could have or would have or should have done something. And this goes back to the illusion of choice and how when you look back at something you would have or you could have or you should have, well, they're all basically the same thing. You could have had a different interaction and something else could have happened differently. And obviously that's many circumstances we regret things, and it comes down to psychology and neurology as well, and how we react to circumstances of reality and how we can come to terms with these things, obviously, because something was going to happen a certain way, but that shouldn't always be a rationalization, because we're in the game, and this certain thing in reaction could be that we can't stand the reaction that we had, and we find some kind of way to react, and some other reaction is going to happen. Either we can't live with ourselves and we end up trying to kill ourselves, or something's going to happen, some interaction is going to happen, so it's just one interaction to another interaction, and we're just a sentience based on interactions, that is interactions, that's interacting with the environment, that's interacting with the idea of some kind of memory, some kind of experience that we had, some past experience, and we're just reacting to the experience that we had before and reacting to it based on a new set of circumstances, interactions leading up to the circumstance we are in now, and that's exactly what's going on. So it goes back to the illusion of choice and outcome. You would have, could have, should have. Yes, and that's about learning lessons, and it's taking lessons from the things that you may have made a mistake in the past, things you regret. You would have, could have, should have, and that's all you can do is say, I'm going to do better next time. And that's the mechanism at work, and we want to reinforce that mechanism, even though the mechanism we know fundamentally is broken, because all we can do is compensate, but at the same time people want to think there's more than just compensation, but they use that as an excuse in many cases to accept for their downfalls or the things that they've made a mistake of. So obviously there's a double standard there when it comes to accepting the truth but not accepting the truth in many circumstances, because we use those as excuses in many cases, the things that we often deny. And we use those as excuses, and that's obviously a flaw in the mechanism, but it's a mechanism of interaction, and the mechanism of interaction is circumstances, and it's something that's going to happen, and it's interactions, and that's all that's happening. So we're just a set of interactions based on a set of interactions and jerks and movements and things just moving around interacting. Actions beget actions, other things interacting with other things, and that's all that's happening. So when you think about different illusions of outcome and choice and things like that, choice is a concept, and it's just a concept you apply to circumstances where you take in the past and you learn lessons in the future, because that's the only thing, that's the only interaction that you can take in going into the future, is learning a lesson from a mistake you've made, and understanding the would have, could have, should have that you couldn't have had in the past can be applied to the future, at least in a different circumstance, and understanding the consequences, becoming more wise to the circumstances of existence, and that's exactly what's happening. You can understand all sorts of things, but one thing you don't understand is all sorts of things. But there's going to be one thing that you don't understand, and that one thing you don't understand can be the thing that you learn your lesson from. You woulda, coulda, shoulda, and you're going to have circumstances like that, even just based on a small change in psychological well-being or psychology. Something can slightly change, and all of a sudden your opinion changes. Oh, and you think, oh, I should have done that. So all sorts of things take an accountability, and it's just a bunch of interactions, interacting, and trying to figure out how to get to the bottom of what you really think and how you want to react to certain situations and how much you're willing to let it affect you. And the disconnection between how it affects you psychologically is a sentient being. Almost the only disconnection you can make is the sentient being from the reality of determinism, because we're feeling and at the same time we're being controlled by these crude forces. So there's kind of a disconnect there where we're precious things being controlled by all these different forces around us of circumstance, and all sorts of things around us being controlled by our circumstance, and all these, like our biological processes, are the same thing, the circumstance of being a sentient being, but also having the sentience. So there's kind of a disconnect there between the reality that we're existing in and the sentience that's being controlled by this reality, and the sentience that is this reality, part of this reality as well. And that's all we are, is a victim of the circumstances of reality and trying to overcome those circumstances. And there's nothing more we can do except accept those circumstances the best we can, try our best to change as much of the fundamental aspects of this circumstance, if at all, and just go from there, because there's only so much we can do to change the fundamental aspects, the fundamental nature. You can change your, you can change, say you can change, you can change the bed sheets, but you can't change the fact that they're bed sheets, or you can't change the fact that that's the only thing that can be consideration. The bed sheet is made out of a certain material, and there's nothing else you can do except that material is that material, and there's nothing you can change about the fact that that's the way it is. The material is made out of the material. You can call it whatever you want. It is the material. You call it whatever you want, but that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what's made up of it. The foundation of it's made up of something based on the reality that we live in. So changing the foundation of existence is only leading to a dead end, and that goes back to solving the problem that can't be solved. And the problem that can't be solved is the understanding of reality and changing the fundamental aspects of reality, recognizing it, coming to terms with it, and recognizing there's only so much you can do except maybe decide to change it. But obviously disconnecting ourselves from that, we can't do anything to change the fundamental aspects of reality except not be part of the reality, sentiently, being a sentient being and part of this reality, except change that by, say, dying, and that's something that's going to happen anyway. That's going to happen anyway, so it's something that's going to be, we're going to be victims of the circumstance based on a circumstance that didn't have to happen to begin with, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we're being controlled by these circumstances, and these circumstances control the way we every aspect of our existence, and thinking we could have done something differently is only a learning lesson in the future, and hoping to do something different. And there's only so much you can do to change the past. You can't change the past. Obviously, you can change things. You say something broke and that happened in the past, and now you can fix it. You can change the past in a certain ways like that, but you can't prevent the fact that it actually broke to begin with. And even if you found a way to fix it completely the exact way it was, or clone something the exact same way it was, it doesn't mean it didn't break to begin with. It still happened. It was still an event in the past, and the fact that it was an event in the past that led up to where you are now is the fact that it means something in the end, and the fact that it led to something. So when something's in the past, it's part of the real, and it's a permanent real embedded into the inner workings and the inner fabric of the intangible, ethereal part of reality that we can't touch. It's just part of the mechanism. It's sort of like saying I'm me, and I can't do anything else to explain that. There's nothing else I can do to explain that I am me, and there's nothing more I can do than to say touch me and say there's something beyond that. But saying there's something controlling this mechanism, but I can't do anything but touch the mechanism inside the mechanism. I'm inside the mechanism, touching the mechanism, and I can't do anything to touch inside the mechanism because I'm already inside the mechanism. Because it's sort of like trying to come up with that change, and you can only do so much to change the circumstances of the existence that we're living in. I think I wanted to say something else in this video. I forgot, but I'm sure it'll come back anyway. And if it doesn't, oh well, I'll find some other angle to move on it from. So thank you, and until next time, bye.